The idea of meritocracy is basically the notion that the people on the top of the socioeconomic hierarchy are there based on merit or effort. We want the best surgeon when they are doing surgery on us, not this sucky one that didn't finish medical school well. Should we only give healthcare to those who work hard? Should it be a basic part of a society that respects the dignity of all its members? Whatever answer we provide to that type of question will reflect a lot on the conception of humanity that we have.
Yeah, I agree, right? That's a complicated question when it comes to healthcare and education. When it comes to education, I have a stronger conviction, I think, on education than I do healthcare.
Wait. So you think that it is more clear to you that we should provide education more than healthcare? But bro, if they are dead, there's nobody to educate. There's nobody to educate.
I'll explain what I mean by healthcare.
All right, go ahead.
And so maybe that's why I feel
brainwashed Americans.
I'm not.
Okay, so welcome everybody to the Philosophy in Real Life podcast, where we strive to live in the most truthful way possible while unmasking wrong interpretations of the world. I am your host, Carlos Santos Aguirre, a philosophy PhD candidate from Spain. And today we have a special guest that is my best friend, Tristen Sleeper. Say hi, Tristen, and introduce yourself. What do you study? What do you do now, just for people to get to know you a little bit more?
Yeah, so again, my name is Tristen. I grew up in Boston, Massachusetts. I currently live in Italy. I went to school for anthropology, and now I work in the software startup world, just as a cog in the machine of startups. So
he sold his soul.
I sold my soul. I did.
Money.
And so now I just have conversations about anthropology and philosophy on the side.
Sweet. And so, I mean, a lot of people might be wondering what will be your role in this type of in the podcast episode or this series. So what would you say is your role here?
It's a good question. I would say that my role is just going to be a normal guy. My hope during this session is to be critical of everything you say, and but also just be a person. Just be a person. So you're going to have your thoughts, and you're going to have whatever it is. I don't really know a lot about what you're going to say, and I'm going to react to however it is I feel like reacting. So
yeah, exactly. Gonna be me. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, exactly. Well, welcome, Tristen. Thanks a lot for doing this. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I mean, I've been doing solo podcasts for the last 9 episodes. I mean, it's been just a new podcast. I started in the summer, and I wanted to just move away a little bit from this type of lecture format and just have a more conversation. And I will try to introduce some ideas or some thesis or some perspective of mine, and then Tristen will be able to ask me. And again, he knows very little about what I'm going to say now, so and I told him that he's completely free to push back or put me in the spot. I actually like being put in the spot when it comes to questions like this about life and philosophy and things like that. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this new format. If you're watching this, if you are listening this Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever platform you listen to, I just want you to know that there is also the option of watching this in video, so that it just hits differently when you see faces and reactions and things like that. But anyway, so today I have something special for you all, because we are going to start a new podcast series. We are going to have 4 different episodes on meritocracy. And now some people might not know the word meritocracy, but basically the idea of meritocracy is the power of those that deserve something, okay? Or basically the notion that the people on the top of the socioeconomic hierarchy are there based on merit or effort, or sometimes it is approached as, you know, we want to build a society based on merit, even though we don't have that type of society yet. And so that's kind of like the, so to speak, the gist or the main idea of the word meritocracy. Now, I would like to introduce quickly the 4 different episodes that we are going to be exploring. So the first episode is why a society based on merit can't fix inequality. So then we're going to the second episode on this series will be why nobody deserves what they have. Now that's a strong claim. That's crazy. You don't deserve what you have. I don't deserve what I have. So then how do we approach our own accomplishments? That's a good question there. So we'll explore that in 2 weeks. So this will be the 3rd week of November. And for the month of December, we're going to have the 2 other episodes. So number 3 and number 4. Number 3 is why letting the market decide what is valuable is a terrible idea. So yeah, that's another episode about economics, merit, and society. And number 4, lastly, this will be released probably around Christmas. And this is number 4 will be why an anti-meritocratic society would be a better society. And that will be my attempt to actually propose a new way of viewing society, people, effort, and merit, and all of that. So I'm going to try to keep episodes between 20 to 30 minutes, no more than that, just so that the ideas that we're discussing are more digestible, because I know that it can be quite heavy on new terms, on new information for everybody. But, you know, I will do my best. The question I want to raise in this episode is the following. Is it really possible to decide what people deserve? Right, because we are used to thinking that in jobs, in a working situation, right? So we're, you do this, you have a salary, that's the compensation for your effort and your results. Yeah. But I'm asking if it's possible to decide what people deserve in so to speak, not only in the working environment, but also in general in society.
It's a difficult question, but I would say that to a degree there is, depending on the. Okay, so I think about work, right? You think about the workplace. You work hard for whatever job it is that you have. Maybe you've been working at a place for a year and you think that you deserve a raise. If you go to your boss and you say, I want a raise, they're going to come back to you and they're going to say, well, why do you think you deserve a raise? And you're going to respond saying, well, I've done A, B, C, and D, and I've put this input into the business. I've made this amount of money for the business, and therefore I deserve to be compensated more because of the money that I bring in, right? That's just one example. And then the idea is, number one, I deserve more for what I deserve. I deserve more for what I've done. But then you also have leverage, right? You also have to use leverage. Depending on how good you are and how much money you bring into the business, that gives you a certain amount of leverage, right? Will they lose more by you leaving, or will they lose more money by you staying and giving you a raise, right? And they have to be able to do that. So all of that is predicated on the idea that there are certain parameters, or there's certain variables that you have or that exist that qualify you as a person that deserves or doesn't deserve a raise. And so I think that there's certain situations in which somebody can evaluate what you've done to deserve, but maybe there's other ones. Maybe there's other situations that are different, right? And I guess it must depend on the situation.
So no, okay, fair enough. Because we live in the real world and we need to make decisions and make things happen. And I think that this idea that there's no true, like there's no this ultimate criterion by which we can evaluate people's efforts. Like, yeah, that is correct, but we need to come up with one, as imperfect as that might be, because we still need to assess people's effort to be able to make things function, so to speak. Obviously, we want the best surgeon when they are doing surgery on us, not this sucky one that didn't finish medical school well. right. So there's something that I think that our moral intuition tells us immediately that when somebody is making a tremendous amount of effort to overcome hardship or difficulty in their life, we praise that. We see the value in that. We meet. I mean, I actually. It's funny because I many times I cry with happy things when I see people overcoming something really difficult. That makes me more emotional at times than that actual sad things, you know.
Right.
And so it's quite funny, but yeah, I mean, fair enough, man, fair enough. So we do need a way of assessing, as imperfect as that might be, for sure. Now, I think that it becomes problematic in my view. This becomes really problematic. For instance, when it comes to healthcare, right? Should we only give healthcare to those who work hard? Hold on. Is healthcare something you need to earn or deserve? Or should it be a basic part of a society that respects the dignity of all its members, right? So I think that whatever answer we give to that type of question, or whatever answer we provide to that type of question, will reflect a lot on the conception of humanity that we have, you know. And so because I think that it's quite difficult in some areas to determine what we genuinely deserve, right? Should you have to prove that you deserve to be alive and receive medical care when you are sick? And I don't think there is a clear-cut formula for this type of question, right? And so this leaves me wondering if the concept of merit or deserving is really enough to build a fair society that fully acknowledges, so to speak, our humanity. And so to me, it's like, yes, we need to come up with something to assess people's effort. Fair enough, man. Like, fair enough. We are not gonna pay lazy people. Yes, I agree. Okay. Otherwise, we wouldn't have any business, anything worth doing. Fair enough. But at the same time, I don't think that the meritocratic ideal is enough for us to come up with good answers with regard to healthcare, right? Do we tie healthcare to the work they are doing, and if they don't work, then you don't have the right to be sick and be taken care of? Or education. You know, it's funny the contrast between Spain and the US, right? So, for example, here we have universal healthcare, and a lot of people say, oh, it's sucky, it's bad, and all of that. But, you know, thanks to that, a lot of people are able to have some basic rights or basic cares, you know, because we understand that this should be a socialized aspect of the state of what we share, right? And so I think a public good that taxpayers provide with their money. And so yeah, anyway, so that is kind of like for me my thing. But
can I comment on that?
Go ahead.
Okay, yes. It's an interesting thing you bring up, because I agree, right? That's a complicated question when it comes to healthcare and education. I think I feel probably a little bit more when it comes to education, I feel like I have a stronger conviction, I think, on education than I do healthcare, because I still have to think through healthcare for whatever is right. With education, I totally see this when it comes to basic education. I'm like, okay, if we want to make the society as great as it can be, then we have to educate our populace, right? And it's like, how can you expect to have a society that is great, right? If that's what you really want out of it. Wait.
So you think that it is more clear to you that we should provide education more than healthcare? But bro, if they are dead, there's nobody to educate. There's nobody to educate.
I'll explain what I mean by healthcare.
All right, go ahead.
I'm probably more on the side of giving everybody healthcare. I'm probably more on the side, but obviously I'm an American, and so maybe that's why I feel
brainwashed Americans.
I'm not against it. I'm not totally against it. Let me just explain what I mean. Okay, so on the side of education, I'll just say that first before I get blasted in the comments. Luckily we're early on in the podcast.
Be mean to him in the comments.
So all right, so when it comes to education, right, I think about so I used to actually volunteer in Boston, where I would actually teach at different schools. And the way that it worked in Boston was essentially you had Boston that had tons of different high schools. Maybe there's 20 different high schools. I'm not totally sure. I could be wrong about that number. But let's just say there's about 20 different high schools. in Boston that different people go to. And the way that it worked was the schools that the students that had the best grades at a given school, that school got more money. And the schools with the worst grades, they got less money. So what ended up happening was you would actually have situations in which, like, let's say you would have kids that would go from middle school to high school. A lot of them would actually be, the worst students would be put into schools that had that were just worse schools with worse educators and less funding. And then you had the better students from middle school getting into high school with better grades and more funding. And you sort of had this I don't know how you say, like, kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way, where it's like you get more money, which gives you better educators, which gives you better students. And what ended up happening was, like, you'd go to these poor schools and they would basically stick all the immigrants in there. I was going to one of these schools and it was just like all, like, kids from like El Salvador who had who didn't really speak English very well, that were going into the school, but there weren't enough teachers to teach the kid. And then this kid I was helping with like math, he was like 15 years old working 2 jobs after school, and which is not legal. And it was and it was a rough situation, because it was like, and this is where I'm like, okay, meritocracy didn't work, right, in this case, because you're giving the best students, right, the most funding, but really you're only creating, you're manufacturing the best students in a way. And I didn't think that it was super fair. And maybe I didn't explain that very well, and one of these days I can go into it. Take healthcare, for example, and I'll end very quickly here because I don't want to go on for too long. In Italy, you have, my wife she's a nurse and she works at a hospital that's half public, half private. And I was asking her how that works. Like, how do you have, I'm like, because what happened was she was working in the ICU. There was 5 patients, and one of those patients was a judge here at Milan. And he paid for private healthcare, but he's in the ICU in a bed next to someone who's paying, who's getting this care through the public system. And so I was asking her, so like, how does that work? For you as a nurse or as a doctor, do you just like spend more time? Like, if both of them are like about to die, do you choose the guy with private healthcare over the person with public? And I was like, I don't understand. And so part of me, I'm like, this is immoral. Like, this is like I can't just like save the person that just gave me more money. It feels wrong. But at the same time, if I was the person that paid more money, I'd be like, yo, you better save me because I just gave you more money to save me. So I don't really know how to deal with that situation. And I don't know what the resolve is necessarily. But that was one of those things where I'm like, if you have more money to pay for these things and to get advanced healthcare, what does that look like? And how do you create a society that doesn't trample on the downtrodden?
Yeah. No, fair enough, man. I still think that a society that so to speak offers healthcare just because you are a human and you are part of the nation, so to speak, is superior to one that leave their citizens dead because they cannot pay their way.
No,
being alive.
In the end, I'll agree with that. No, I agree with that. I ultimately agree with that. I think there's more nuance to it, but I agree with that statement.
All right, fair enough. Okay, everybody. So thank you so much for joining us in the Philosophy in Real Life podcast. We're going to be doing the 3 other episodes with our guest Tristen Sleeper, and as you can see, he's a very insightful guest. As you already know, I'm on socials. And if you found value in this podcast episode, I would highly appreciate if you could leave a review or a comment or a like, whatever you are watching that. It means a lot. And I know that some of you have written to me personally, like saying, hey, I really love the podcast and all of that. I mean, if any of you who have written to me privately showing appreciation for what I'm doing, I would be super grateful if you could just do that comment also in the reviews, so that people can find it and you can share it with everybody. Okay, everybody, until next time, adios, take care.
Adios.
Bye.